Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's so good to see everyone. It's a great crowd here. I'm Lance Henning with Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity. Thank you for being here today, and that we are excited. This is our second ever Women Build Luncheon, and so we're excited about that. Last year, we were able to have a discussion around the connection between home and health, our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health. And then this year, we're excited to have panelists that are going to help us make the connection and talk about the connection between home and education. And we have expertise from early childhood to vocational training, all as a part of the discussion on the panel's discussions today. Just a couple of reminders that you can be taking your notes there with your pencil and school notebook that are on the table. And be sure to grab your school portrait in the other room in the back here if you haven't had the opportunity to be able to do that. But here at the Women Build Luncheon, this is one of the ways to be able to gain support for the Women Build. And that this year we have nearly 36 Women Build teams that have joined with us to raise funds, to spend their time and share their volunteer power to help us make affordable homeownership a reality. So we're thankful for all those folks that are taking the time to be on site or make a financial donation and impact, and also for your participation here and being a part of this today. So thank you for that. I do want, yes? All our Women Build effort is led by co-chairs, and I want to introduce our co-chairs this year. So our co-chairs are Dr. Angela Franklin and Dr. Rochelle Keck, two women that are especially qualified to speak on today's topic between home and education. So Dr. Franklin is the president of Des Moines University. She has a PhD in clinical psychology from Emory University and 25 years of working in higher education. Dr. Keck is president of Grandview University, first-generation college student, Iowa native, and she has her bachelor's from Wartburg and her lawyer degree from Iowa and PhD from Drake. And Dr. Keck, as she's been on helping us to co-chair, has shared some of her personal connection to Habitat for Humanity, as two of her sisters are in Habitat for Humanity homes. So I would like to introduce Dr. Keck, and she's going to help us with a welcome message and a blessing.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. What a beautiful space to have a luncheon today, am I right? Yes. As Lance shared, I wanted to just give some brief remarks today and then pray a blessing over our gathering today. When Lance and Clara came to meet with me about the potential to become a co-chair for the Women Build this year, I did not hesitate, even though it really goes against my innate rule that I primarily raise money for Grandview University. But I absolutely said yes right away. And as Lance mentioned, I do have two sisters who live in Habitat homes in Southeast Iowa. Some of you may know, but I'm one of 9 children and first in my family to go to college. And when Clara and Lance shared with me that the theme this year was going to be home ownership and education, that further solidified my yes. Education for me has absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. And home ownership has absolutely changed the trajectory of my sisters' lives. Not only their lives, but also their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. As I shared at the blessing of the home site earlier this spring, it wasn't that long ago that women were not even allowed to own real estate in this country. Now, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but how many in the room were born before 1974? You don't have to answer, but you can if you want to. And the reason I am calling out 1974, 50 years ago, only 50 years ago, That was when women were given the legal right to be protected, to being able to get a mortgage in their name only without the necessity of a cosigner. And that was one of the final legal rights that were enacted for women in this country in 1974, 50 years ago. So homeownership, much like education, changes lives. People are happier, they're healthier, they're more secure, they're more engaged citizens, and overall have a higher life satisfaction. So I could not be happier to be a part of this event and this initiative, and very grateful to Habitat for Humanity for all of the great work that they do in central Iowa.
I see some people eating their cake pops, so it must be time to move to the program on there. I don't know, what's the best cake pop out there so far? Red velvet? I have a lemon, I haven't tried it yet. All right, I got a thumbs up on the lemon. All right, first we'd like to say thank you. Our elected officials, we have several elected officials in the room. If you guys would take a moment and stand up on there. Thank you for your service and leadership in the community. We want to say thank you to our sponsors and that help make the Women Build and the Women Build Luncheon all possible on here. Our presenting sponsor is Nationwide for the Women Build Luncheon. So thank you to Nationwide. We also have Corteva, Mid-American Energy, Polk County, the Des Moines Association of Realtors, Iowa State Bank, Beiser Lumber, and Heather Van Ness are also sponsors of the event, so thank you. Our media sponsor is the Des Moines Business Record, and thank you for what they do in getting the word out in the community. And then we want to say thank you to our panelists that will be coming up here shortly, and a big thank you again to our Women Build co-chairs, Dr. Franklin and Dr. Keck, for leading the effort this year around the Women Build. So thank you very much for your work. And we have many Women Build team captains that are out there that have rounded up others to help out with the Women Build. So if you're a team captain, thank you. And to everyone that has volunteered on site, thank you very much for being a part of it. And so I also want to just shout out too, because we have former co-chairs in the room and others that have been out on site and other points in time on there. So if you have been out on a Habitat site on there, would you guys stand up and we could just all thank each other and a little applause on there? So if you've been out on a Habitat site, stand up. Awesome. All right. So for our presenting sponsor with Nationwide, we'd like to give them a moment to say a few remarks, and then we'll get into the program aspect on there. And so Brad Liggett is the president of Nationwide Agribusiness, and he's going to say a few words for us.
Thank you, Lance. I had the red velvet, and it was awesome. And what a delicious lunch! What a delicious lunch, and what a great venue! And man, what a lot of awesome energy is in this room. I just love this. Hey, as Lance mentioned, I'm Brad Liggett. I'm president of Nationwide Agribusiness Insurance Company. We are very excited at Nationwide to be here as the presenting sponsor of this year's Women Build Luncheon. I know today is just the start of supporting women in the effort to create home ownership opportunities for them and for their families. So this is really, really exciting. Nationwide is a company that cares, and we have a special interest in supporting initiatives and projects that protect, strengthen, and help advance families where they are and help provide a nurturing environment where everyone in the community can thrive. And We know that by supporting Habitat for Humanity, we are helping to create life-changing opportunities for women and their families here in Greater Des Moines. Our associates, and I'll take a moment just to talk about the energy and enthusiasm and excitement of our associates around this organization. We support a lot of things in the community, and we try to be good corporate citizens. Now, I've been in Nationwide a long time, and I can honestly tell you, I don't think I've ever seen greater enthusiasm from the associates that are volunteering than when they volunteer at a Habitat for Humanity project. It's just a buzz, it's an energy, they love it. This is a tremendous organization, and at Nationwide we try to have our culture be, we're gonna be more than a company, and we're gonna try to do really good in the community, and there's no part of anything we do that's more aligned than this organization. This is important work, and you're all doing wonderful, wonderful things. And so on behalf of our nearly 3,000 associates in Central Iowa, we're very grateful for this partnership and the collaboration we get with Habitat for Humanity. And so exciting, Lance, to hear about all the many teams that are being formed, and the panel's gonna be fantastic. We know we've got some great people on that panel. You guys are gonna really help educate us a lot. But again, on behalf of everybody at Nationwide, we're honored to be here. We're happy to support this, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'd like just to have your attention here for a video with a little bit between Habitat for Humanity and the By Degrees Foundation.
We heard from our families that access to quality, affordable housing was often a significant stressor in their lives. Oftentimes, the available housing that they could afford really wasn't sufficient for their needs. The rents that they were paying were unsustainable, and that they were very cost burdened. And when the families were stressed like that about the financials of their household, we often saw significant impacts on the kids in school. So when we see students that are moving every year, every couple of years, they are experiencing a significant academic impact over and over and over again. So we knew that we needed to address the housing stability in the neighborhood so that the kids that went to Findlay and Harding and North could really thrive. We knew that Habitat had a lot of different solutions to help families address that housing sustainability and affordability. Habitat's work, specifically in the Birdland and Highland Park neighborhoods, has really had a significant impact on the quality of life in our neighborhood. It's having a ripple effect throughout the whole community. The tools that Habitat for Humanity gives its clients are not just tools that help them in the housing sector. These are tools that help families become stronger in so many different ways, including education. So when we launched, mobility at Findlay Elementary had been about 35%. Within a couple of years, by working with Habitat for Humanity and Polk County Housing Trust Fund, we were able to see a pretty significant reduction in that mobility. At one point, it got down to about 22%. So we were addressing the causes that were making families move, and we were improving the schools to make sure that families understood the value of staying in the Findlay and Harding and North neighborhood. Families that are willing to literally put roots down in the neighborhood, they become more invested. They become more invested in their kids' education. They become more invested in making sure their neighborhood feels welcoming and beautifying their neighborhood. One of the things that makes By Degrees Foundation unique is that we start working with kids and their families in kindergarten. We know that it takes a long time to develop that college-going mindset, whatever that looks like. So we start working with kids and their families and the schools really at an early age to help build that foundation and help make sure that they are keeping their opportunities open, whether that's college or trade schools or vocational training, anything that's going to help them get that job they love. A lot of times we say that we deal with all of those things that have nothing to do with education, that have everything to do with education. That includes things like housing and food security and financial capacity building. We know that if our families are able to choose the housing that's best for them in the neighborhoods that they want, that everyone wins. And so our work with Habitat is really focused on how can we help our families access resources that are out there so that they can get that stable housing and then they can come to school ready to learn, and we can work with them on what those long-term career pathways are. Your involvement in Habitat for Humanity has a ripple effect that really strengthens our community in countless different ways. Seeing so many women involved in making an impact in housing or education is incredibly inspiring. We have so many amazing female leaders in our community, and I love that this luncheon is helping lift up the voices of women that care about our community and want to make a difference.
Okay, well, I'm Angela Franklin. It's a pleasure to be with you all today, and I'm just going to make a few opening remarks and then get right to our panelists. So, of course, it's a real honor to be a part of the Women Build this year. As a president of a Medicine and Health Sciences University, as an educator, as a psychologist, as a mother and a now grandmother, this topic couldn't be any more important for me and most of you, all of you here in the audience today, than what we are going to be able to talk about today in terms of connecting housing to education. There's a lot of research out there, and we've been privy to a lot of the stats, and you'll hear more of them as the time goes on today, about the location and condition of a child's home plays a significant role in their physical, cognitive, and emotional development and well-being, which impacts their education through improved attendance, better cognitive and behavioral health, and improved academic achievement. So making direct connections between housing and the impact on a child's education is challenging, but there are a lot of studies that support the real value that we place on connecting housing to education. So I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists today. So I'll start on the end with Dr. Mary Chapman. Dr. Mary Chapman is Vice President Emeritus of Des Moines Area Community College. She's the first woman to serve as DMAC's Urban Campus Dean and help open the Evelyn K. Davis Center for Working Families, where Des Moines residents are connected with job training and career opportunities to improve their financial situations. Dr. Chapman's rewarding careers included leadership opportunities to help meet student needs and become involved in the Des Moines community through nonprofits like Urban Dreams. She will speak from a perspective of DMAC's vocational construction trade fields, including lifting up the DMAC Youth Build and Building Trades programs in their long-term partnership with Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity. Students with the Building Trades program help with 6+ Habitat homes each year, led by DMAC's instructors, workforce trade academies. So we're going to have Dr. Mary Chapman with us. In addition, we will have Bridget Cravens-Neely, who's the CEO of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Central Iowa. She joined Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Iowa in June 2022. Prior to this, she had a successful 30-year career in the insurance industry. She has made an impact through her professional and civic work in the Des Moines community. She will speak from perspectives of the role mentors have in education, the power of housing stability and its impact on early childhood education, racial inequities as it relates to access to housing and education, and the importance of access to a safe and stable home for adolescents. And then we have Tasha Brown, who's the director of Central Campus, Des Moines Public Schools. Tasha Brown is a 20-year veteran educator currently serving as the Director of Career and Technical Education and the Central Campus in Des Moines Public Schools. Her work centers on changing systems to ensure every student has access to a meaningful and purposeful career path, earn a family sustainable wage with health care and benefits and opportunity for upward mobility. Whether students enroll, enlist, or go straight to employment, their K through 12 experience will have been aligned to their passions, purpose, and plans. So our panelists are here to share their perspective, and I'm going to kick things off with a question that I'll start with Ms. Brown, Tasha Brown. So there's a lot of research out there that really clearly connects education and housing. Would you please share a concrete example you witnessed that demonstrates the connection between home and educational outcomes?
Thank you for the question. First, it's just an honor and a privilege to be here and amongst so many of you, and certainly to be amongst these giants up on this stage of community leadership. So just very humbled to be here. So working in public education, I'm also a Des Moines native, went through Des Moines Public Schools myself, graduate and alumni of East High School, so I have to give a shout out to any other Scarlets that might be in the crowd today, certainly my friends in the back at Des Moines Public Schools. So, you know, one of the biggest things that we really do struggle with and have kind of a laser focus on in our school district is attendance. So when we see that, you know, attendance is related to proficiency of students, access to reading, just access to school, but it's not just the stuff that happens in the classrooms that they don't always have access to. They don't have access to the extracurricular activities, you know, to the sports and to the clubs and to the arts and to all of the things that really help that whole child experience of helping students identify their strengths, their skills, and their passions. And so they're really kind of starting from a deficit. And when we talk about equity in education, which we do a lot in Des Moines Public Schools, that really is a symptom of a much bigger problem. Sometimes we treat attendance as a problem. It's not the problem, it's a symptom. And housing, right, and access to what we call Maslow before Marzano. Marzano's an education researcher that likes to talk about how instruction and pedagogy and methodology and all that stuff's fine and great for our kids. We have very highly trained staff in Des Moines Public Schools that love our community and love our students. But education has been asked, especially we saw it during the pandemic. Public education is being asked and tasked with solving societal's challenges, and we can't do it. We can't do it alone, that's for sure. So opportunities like this are really, really important. And so when we look at our partnerships and we look at like what the work that By Degrees has been doing in raising students' access to just school settings, environments, it's also helping them access social capital. And we all know that as adults, when we started navigating the adult world, it wasn't so much what we knew, it's who you know. And so our kids and our families that don't have stable food and stable housing and access to transportation and all of these things that I myself take for granted every single day, it is really limiting their capacity, right, to learn and thrive in a manner that is going to lead them to not just higher educational outcomes, but the purpose of education is to make sure that the socioeconomic and development, that everybody has access to that. You know, that there's not just a select few that get to go on to finding a career of their choosing that has a family sustainable wage, access to healthcare and benefits, and upward mobility. And so I just really appreciate how, you know, this group and the work that is being discussed here today is really showing that there are proactive approaches to poverty, and that's what we're really talking about today. And that we don't want our students to, and our young people in our community to always have to rely on the adults to show them a different way. We want to arm them with the facts and the resources to do that. And so when we have our community school coordinators in the schools, we do help families get access. We just had a student, one of our Hoover students that came to Central Campus, he's very interested in business and he wanted to enroll in DMAC. And he's been in and out of foster care his whole life. And he's been in a variety of different homes. He's also experienced homelessness. He doesn't have the family support to help him fill out the paperwork for DMAC, but the resources at school allowed him to do so. And because we worked with DMAC, they were actually able to get him a unit at Campus Town, and he's got some subsidies coming to help him with that. And now we're working on getting him a car because he has the desire of earning an associate's in business and he wants to be a real estate agent. At Central Campus, we started a real estate investment class for the social change that can come out of that when our youth understand, right, the complexities of our communities, and our students can be the solution, right, to solving these things. So when students are learning about real estate investment, they're learning about who gets mortgages and who doesn't and why. And they get to impact that. They get to, lean into their lived experiences that they've had, right? And the experiences that their friends have, friends that I had growing up on the east side of Des Moines. And, long story short, with all of that, it's important for them to know about redlining and all the social issues that come into this, as well as like skilled trades programs and the skills needed to build the homes and to do all the things. And so when we really arm and empower our youth to understand the social issues and challenges of our community and give them an opportunity to apply the learning that they get from us into those real world situations, then I think we see really, really powerful outcomes for them that sustain them well beyond their K-12 education experiences.
So clearly, the kids of Des Moines Public Schools are in good hands, and it really does take a village. And of course, you can actually see the passion that comes from the conversations already as we get started, as we think about all the many ways that we can continue to empower our families and our children to do and take full advantage of all the opportunities that are out there. So it's just in the spirit of all the many other opportunities, I'd like to hear from Bridget Neely from Big Brother, Big Sisters, because mentorship and having extenders of family members, those who might be able to wrap around those families and those children in a way to continue to support them, is also an important variable. And then we'll get to hear about what DMAC is doing in particular. So Bridget?
Absolutely, and I want to echo what Tasha said as far as this is an honor and a privilege to be on this stage with these esteemed women, all of them. I'm in great company and I appreciate the invitation, so thank you. From a mentoring standpoint, how many of you in the audience have mentors? Raise high. How many of you had mentors when you were younger? So that was elementary school, middle school, high school. Raise high. And what was the impact that they had on you? Pretty positive, right? They were influential in helping to shape and develop you, and as you developed and help you to identify your own potential, correct? Well, that's the effects that mentoring young people has. So with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, we are focused on not just mentoring at the very young age. The entry point to get into our programs is 5 years old. The exit point is 25. We just increased that last year. And the reason is because we saw a gap. But from the perspective of early childhood, there are so many studies out there that have proven how effective and how important stable, safe, positive housing, affordable housing is to the development of a child. As much as their parents probably want to shield them from the realities of life, they can't always do that. And I speak from that perspective because those are a lot of the people in our community today that Big Brothers Big Sisters serves. We focus and tend to receive enrollments of children from low-income households, single-parent households, those who may be food insecure, but some who may live in unstable housing. So while parents are trying to figure out, how am I going to pay rent? Are we going to be able to stay in this place that we're living today? How am I going to create a thriving environment for my child when I'm barely surviving? Just think about that for a minute. And I speak from that perspective because sitting here in front of you, I'm a product of that environment. I grew up in a small town in Illinois, farm community, manufacturing community, single mom, latchkey kid at age 9. How many of you know what latchkey means? Thank you. God bless you. I didn't age myself too bad. Latchkey kid at age 9. Moved 6 times. I was counting this morning as I was thinking about answering some of the questions. At 6 times, 3 of those during high school. So I know what it's like to have unstable housing. It wasn't because my mother wasn't working her butt off. It was simply because she had to move where she could afford to live, for us to live. And so saw several different areas of town. As a young person, especially as a child, and when I say child, I'm really thinking about that age 5 to 12. And you're staying at home by yourself, safety is a question. Coming home to an empty household is one of those, is a reality. Or coming home to a household where you may not have not only food in the house, but do you have, is it stable enough where it's not cold, bitterly cold during the winter? So you have to put on extra layers to stay warm. Or you can't afford the heat bill, and so you got to find other ways to be able to stay warm, like piling blankets on. Or during the summer when it's ungodly hot, you have no way of staying cool. So those are factors, those are realities that housing plays a huge role in the development of a child, because guess what? At an early age, that child's got to learn how to survive. I've got to survive the elements, and those elements can vary. So how important is housing and what effect does it have on the education? If I'm focused on those things, in addition to, am I hungry? In addition to, how long is it going to take me to get to school if I can't, if there's not a bus on my route, whether it's public bus, public transportation, or school bus route. All of these factors, and if I don't have the proper transportation, because maybe the best school for me to be in is 30 miles away or 15 miles away, and my parent or guardian doesn't have proper transportation to get me there, what am I missing? What am I missing out on at school? School becomes a non-priority. Survival is. So those are the important things to think about when it comes to stable housing. When children have stability, when children feel safe, when children feel secure, their mind can be free to learn. They can develop those social skills that they need to. They don't have to worry about being ashamed when they go to school if they don't have running water in their home. So housing is extremely important, and where mentoring comes in and what we do, our volunteer mentors, and every single one of them is a volunteer. And just out of curiosity, not trying to put anybody on the spot, are there any bigs in the audience? I have to ask this. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What you all do for our littles, you give them hope, because you tell them that they're important, that they're worthy, that they are loved and cared for beyond somebody who's supposed to love and care for them. You are such a lifeline. And that's what mentoring youth does for little kids, preteens, teenagers, young adults. Mentoring is so much more than opening a door. Mentoring in our organization is critical to the success, the development, and the nurturing of young people. How does that translate into education? If you know that you're worthy, if you have self-respect, if you love yourself, you feel empowered, and you want to be bigger, and you want to be better, and you want to go out there and conquer. That's what mentoring does for young people, regardless of what age they are. That's what mentoring does for educational success. And I'll close with this. There are 3 key indicators that we focus on as a national network. That is attendance. That is also behavior, academic performance, and resisting or distracting and keeping them out of risky behaviors and making bad decisions. So with those 4, we have actually been successful. Our mentoring works. Youth mentoring absolutely works. And I can prove it because I'm sitting here as CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Iowa.
Dr. Chapman, we want to hear from DMAC. Of course, DMAC has been for a long time in the business of educating, transforming lives. So I'd love for Dr. Chapman to talk about a perspective of the role that DMAC has, but take this from a point of not just empowering lives, but the economics of the impact of housing and education. So give us that perspective, Dr. Chapman.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here this afternoon and to listen to the powerful women that are on this panel, and I just feel like I'm in good company. And I'm always looking for the opportunity to uplift the importance and the value of the work that it takes to help students to be successful. And when we were talking about DMAC, my journey didn't start at DMAC. It started as an elementary teacher and as a principal. And so I saw in real time the impact of housing, because when I would get students in my classroom that have that have moved 3 and 4 times. I've even had a student that moved 7 times in one semester, and the impact that had on that child. Not being behind academically, trying to establish new friendships, lost that, trying to have trust in this new adult in their life telling them what to do. So I saw that in real time as a teacher and as a principal. And during the time that I started, it wasn't, getting more information as to where that child was coming from, and understanding why the child was acting out. Then I would make home visits. So, because I wanted to know where were they coming from. And so, to walk into a house and you would see maybe there was one chair, a couch in the living room, and sitting down on a chair, almost hitting the floor, and talking to the parent, seeing the child sitting there, and talking about the success of their child in my classroom. That was the beginning of my journey. And so when I ended up at DMAC, I wanted to see on the other end, And oftentimes I was seeing the residual impact of unstable housing on now this student as an adult student, and trying to be successful in identifying their career pathway. And so the partnership with the Habitat, the Greater Des Moines Habitat, for over a decade, partnering with the Youth Build program, I mean, it changed lives. Changed lives in a way that we're talking about second chance opportunities for these young people, 18 to 24. Now, I call these students not only second chance, but opportunity students. I mean, they're looking to change their lives. And many of them that we started with, they didn't have, I mean, they were living with an aunt or living with a grandmother or living with a friend, and then coming now trying to think about how they're going to be successful at DMAC in this program. No money. Now, this is where economics come in. Now, maybe working from job to job, pop-up, I'm saying pick-up jobs, or maybe hustling on the street. And many of the students that we were able to, I'd say, capture, they were on the street, and they brought baggage with them. And so what we had to do was to find out, okay, what are you about? And where are you living? And Habitat helped us to do that. Not only when we worked with the program, the Greater Des Moines Habitat team, they did the construction part, and they also mentored. That's where mentoring comes in. That education and mentoring, it just kind of, it's the thread throughout. These young people, once we found housing was important, and once we identified or tried to address and stabilize their housing, then they could focus on paying attention and focusing on what was happening in the Youth Build program. Now, this Youth Build program, with the Greater Des Moines Habitat providing the construction part, DMAC's role was to provide the academic, provide the skill of vocational skills, where they would end up with the pre-carpentry apprenticeship certification. But that was not enough. We also worked with employability skills and those workplace etiquette so that they could be employable and understand what it means not only to get a job, understanding what a career means and how to stay there. You know, what does it mean to show up on time? What does it mean being responsible? What does it mean having those relationships with your peers? And the Youth Build program helped to do that, because in this program, we identified, first of all, they had to be, the priority were students that were needing to complete their high school requirements. And secondly, we looked for those young people that were involved in the juvenile justice system. So most of the students were referred by juvenile and probation officers. So they came with a lot of baggage and they brought friends with them, because I remember one time the students were in the classroom and they were working on a topic, and a girlfriend showed up, and she was talking about the keys to the car, and he had the keys, and so they went round and round, and this was in the classroom, and I heard this yelling from my office, and I went out and had to talk her off campus. But then when I went back into the classroom, this young man, his classmates were saying, "Man, your girlfriend came on in the classroom." I mean, you know, they couldn't understand why. So it was more than the academics that was happening in the classroom, but there was the behavior. It was like unlearning those bad behaviors and trying to replace them with those kinds of behaviors that would help them to be employed. Now, as a result of the Youth Build program, just imagine these young people earning, well, I call it earning to learn, because, they had to have some kind of income while they were taking time out to be in class. So we paid them to be in class. Then we were finding out, okay, if they completed their GED, then there was an incentive to work hard to complete some things. And so they would know that it's worth paying attention to complete something. I mean, there is a reward on the end. And at that stage, it had to be tangible. And then you wean them away from the tangible to the intangible. But, you can't talk about what it's going to be like without them experiencing it. And that's what we did with the Youth Build program. But that earning to learn, where they earned money, completed their vocational programs, but then also these young people had the opportunity to enroll in college credit classes and never thought that they'd have the opportunity to do that. But this program gave them the hope to say, see, we're on campus, we're in the classroom, and we can enroll in classes at DMAC while at the same time we can learn to build a house, we can gain some skills that can transfer to employment. That happened with the Youth Build program, and it would not have been possible without the skills that were provided by the Greater Des Moines Habitat staff, the mentoring that they provided these young people, because they could see in real time, in most instances, there was the father figure that was provided for them that they didn't see in their home. And then to see them building a house in the community where they live, I mean, how cool is that? Where they're building a house and then peers driving by, seeing them work on the house. Once the house is completed, then they're driving by, pointing to a house in their neighborhood that they had something to do with. Placing that in their neighborhood, improving the quality of life where they lived. I mean, that gave them hope to realize that they had value, they had worth, they realized their full potential. But that was the joy. And I guess I could give you a lot of success stories, but a couple. One is one of the students, he was really good in construction, and he enrolled in the millwork program at DMAC. And when he completed, then he was hired by one of the local architectural firms to work with blueprints. Then there was another student that, his love was being an entrepreneur. So he found a place to set up his business. He did all the remodeling himself. But that was the skills that he learned by working with the Youth Build program. But it is that education is so important. Stable housing becomes one of those the needs that they need to take away that distraction so that they can focus on what's important as they identify new goals for themselves. Taking that, finding a place to live, having that stable home is important. But that residual effect, that's what we experienced at DMAC. Them as an adult, not having a stable home, a place to live, starting at a young age, and see where they ended up. And so with the Youth Build program, we were working and trying to stop that cycle, I guess, that generational cycle.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. One fear that I had when talking with Clara about planning for this is we have wonderful individuals who could talk a lot more about the wonderful things that we are doing, and that my greatest fear was how we're going to get the timeline kind of shrink down to get all this wonderful insight out. But as you can see, we've already run out of time. I've gotten the signal already. So I would like to just say that we're all here. We're here because this is a Women Build Luncheon. We're here because there are a lot of wonderful women building houses, and a lot of us have already been on site building the homes that you're going to hear from the future owners in our next video. So I would like to just kind of close the panel by really thanking my colleagues up here. You've heard from Des Moines Public Schools and the leadership and all the things that they do to support our students. You've heard from a community leader of a nonprofit that's all about wrapping around support and mentoring to help young minds continue to be inspired and encouraged. And you've also heard from an educator from DMAC who really truly believes in the power of education. As a psychologist, as a health professions educator, we're all in this together. You're all here because we really support education. We all support Habitat for Humanity. We all believe in the mission of this organization, and we're so proud to know that you're here with us, and we're all going to do this together to make life better for those who will have the benefit of the homes that we build. So thank you all. At this point, we got to remove the high chairs so that you can see the video again. So thank you all.
I'm Bhagwati and my sister Devi. We sister and me came to Des Moines in 2015 September. But it's a good thing we came here in United States. That is the more beneficial part for us. When we were in Nepal, that's a refugee camp. We lived there in miserable conditions. We live in Des Moines. It's a good place, but we live in apartment. Now we are in one-bedroom apartment. It's not enough for us, like for two people. The rent is increasing higher and higher. So if we have our own house, then that would be great. She cannot work. I mean, she has a lot of illnesses. She got diabetes and she got arthritis problem. She can't get up stairs, and getting up stairs is very bad for her. I also need my own room because I don't want to disturb her and she doesn't want to disturb me. So we need separate rooms. When we have a house, we need the good neighbors, and we help each other when we need assistance. I mean the social. So I need to talk with everybody, with the neighbors, and be good with them. So if they feel sick, if they get any assistance, we can help them. And if we need assistance, they can help us. So if we get become a good relationship with them, it's good for us. So our house is important to be there. It's like a center of everything, hospitals, grocery stores, and families too nearby. And then we can pick up medicine for my sisters. That's why it's important. She can go if she wants to go by herself, the nearby store, she can go by herself. I would like to thank everyone who are involved in Habitat for Humanity. Thank you all the volunteers who have helped for us to have a home. We are excited.
My mother influences me because she works hard every single day, making sure that the lights are still on, but also she's saving, making sure the rent is still due, but she's also saving for this house. She's making sure our tuition is due. She's making sure we have everything to eat. She just does it all, and it's crazy, because it's how could one person do that for 3 children all by herself? And it just takes a lot, and I'm happy. I'm actually really happy and grateful for my mom, and I thank her every day in my heart.
My mom inspires me by the way that she cares for us and the way that she is so selfless, and she loves us. There's a lot of ways I want to be like my mom, but my top one is her heart. She's really kind and very forgiving and loving. She has a really, really good heart. If you know my mom, she just wants the best for us. She wants the best for anybody, and it's not just her kids. So I just want to, be like her that way.
Before I got my car, we only had one car. The hospital was right next to our neighborhood. And so she sacrificed her walking to work every single day just so that we could take the car to school. When you think about it, it's like that sacrifice through summer, fall, winter, and spring. You're walking just for your kids, and it's just, you don't hear her complain. That is one thing, she does not complain. She knows that this is the life that she has, and if she wants to get out of it, she has to work hard, and she did that, and she's doing that. It's been my mom's dream to own a house since I could remember. We tried a couple times, but it didn't work out. I'm just so proud of my mom. I am so proud of her. Just seeing everything that she's gone through, it didn't stop her at all. Her actually getting it just means that even when something knocks you down, you can get right back up and it'll come 10 times better. When she first came to America, she was a single mother off the boat. She didn't know English. She didn't know how America worked.
I think the American dream to me means being successful, being happy, and at peace with yourself. And I think, owning a home does bring that together.
It'll relieve a lot of stress off of her. I know when we go into it, the first week we're in it, she's gonna be smiling. Even now she's smiling. You can see the happiness, you can see her glow, and it'll just be good.
Thank you so much. It's not easy to get a house, but when you come to Habitat, you try my best. I try my best, and everybody can try their best so they can get it. Thank you so much.
I love you.
I love you,
thank
Karina.
you.
I love you, Kiki. Do good. Good thing will come. I get a house, you're gonna get fat house. Better than mine.
We're here for the wrap up, so thank you all. Wow, it's amazing to see the stories of the families that will benefit from the homes that we're building this summer. These are the stories behind the Women Build and the Women Build Fund. We know that housing is more than just a roof over one's head. A safe, decent, affordable home is a foundation for the future. An investment when it comes to nutrition, health care, and education. The past few weeks, we've witnessed women come together to make a difference through the Women Build. We've seen that together we can do something extraordinary, something we cannot do on our own. So will you join us? Some have already made gifts in support of the Women Build, but if you're so inspired, please take out your phone and scan the QR code inside your program to get started. Your gift today of $50, $100, $250, or even $500 will help us reach a goal of at least $50,000 in support of the 2024 Women Build. Now my co-chair, Dr. Keck, is going to make the final remarks, but thank you.
The Women Build Fund supports the life-changing effects of homeownership, providing Central Iowa families and female-led households with stability and security for future generations. When you have a safe space to call home, you also have a safe space to grow hope. Currently, 62% of Habitat's future homeowners are female-led households, exemplifying the need for affordable housing among women. Women like Rebecca, Bagwadi and Devi, Destiny, Amanda, Mai, LaKay, Diara, Esperanza, Shaway, Rosa, Dio, Charlene. These are the names of just a few women and their families who are partnering with Habitat this year. Your support of the Women Build Fund will help 36 families achieve their dream of homeownership in 2024. Together, women build communities, women build families, women build leaders, women build nations, women build safe havens, and women build opportunities. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for empowering women, and thank you for your generous gift of hope and home. Have a good day.